Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and wherever you are watching in the world, welcome along to F1 Esports Challengers. We are here for event number 3 on the PlayStation 4, and 2 rounds coming up tonight. First, we head to Silverstone, and then, of course, we'll head to the legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit. We're pretty much at the halfway point of these Challenger series so far, at least for PlayStation, that is. Once we reach the end of round 5, we'll be absolutely at the peak of that halfway point in the series. And, of course, I couldn't do this alone. I've got a great team behind me, one of them being the lovely Mr. Justin Sutton. Justin, finally, we get to Silverstone and Spa, 2 legendary tracks coming up. Everybody recognises these ones. We should see some great action tonight.
Yeah, I am thrilled to be back, thrilled to be at these tracks in particular. We're 4 races into this 10-race championship and back for event 3 of 5. And honestly, these are 2 of my personal favorite tracks of all time. I love a good fast corner, and you get quite a bit of that at both of these circuits, at Silverstone and Spa. So, and as well, you get great racing. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Well, Copse, Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel, Stowe, Club, all legendary corners around this circuit. And of course, since it was redesigned in 2010, there have been new corners to take you through the action as well, like the likes of Abbey, Farm Curve, into Village, and then in towards the Loop and the Wellington Straight. So it's a real mix of classic corners with that new clubhouse design, giving us that key racing battle that we need here at Silverstone. Not that it needed any improvement whatsoever, of course, with those legendary corners. And obviously, you can't come to Silverstone without talking about that move by Nigel Mansell at Stowe Corner. I mean, you could watch that one again and again and again.
Yeah, I mean, you could have that as your desktop background and never ever get tired of that one bit. Yeah, the scene of many incredible moments throughout F1 history. One of the most important circuits as well. You know, we talk about the high speeds and the overtaking and the battling and stuff like that, but the history as well is such an important part of both of these tracks.
Yeah, we first came here in 1950 to kickstart Formula One as its entirety as a championship. A lot's changed since then. There were about 8 corners when we first came here in 1950. Now there's close to 20. So time has changed and age has done this circuit no harm whatsoever. We should probably, though, talk about the championship standings coming into round 5 here at Great Britain. And if you've missed the first 4 rounds, well, where have you been? You've missed so much. You've missed so much great action across the scenes, including that move at the Netherlands. 3 wide down the main straight. Well, that's going to take some beating, but I reckon the drivers have got it in them here tonight. So, I mean, Justin, do we need to hype this up anymore? I don't think we need to. It seriously speaks for itself. Here are the championship standings. So heading into round number 5, it's Simon Shooter at the top of the table on 65 points. Domenico Lovecce in 2nd place. Valentin Bruffa in 3rd place. Marcel Olstadt 4th. Nicholas Klasani is in P5 with Javier Perez in 6th place. That's your top 6 so far. And of course, the top 6 are the drivers that will make it to the next stage of the pro exhibition stage, where they can really prove their skills to try and get themselves to the pro draft. Then it's Duncan Hoffland just outside of that top 6, Guillaume Darunia in 8th place, Dario Yamalo in 9th, and Bernardo Perez rounding off the top 10 of that order. And then to bring you through the rest of the order, it's Matthias Van Erven in 11th place, Isaac Ajar in 12th, Diego Rossi 13th, Villa Hammerleinen in 14th, Simeone Yamotti in 15th, and Gianpetro Oggiano there in 16th place. Only Iamoto and Oggiano yet to get off the mark this season in terms of points. And to see drivers scoring points all across the board, it shows you how competitive this scene really is. In PS4, we've had 4 different races and 4 different winners.
Yeah, of course, across all the platforms, we've had nothing but different winners, which I'm surprised we actually went 5 minutes without talking about that statistic, because it is one of the most incredible facts that you will come across in the F1 Esports Challenger series. So, yeah, it's truly incredible. And I would absolutely say that there is a very good chance that both of those guys can pick up some points here today at Silverstone or Spa. We've touched on it before. You know, it's possible the previous circuits, Vietnam, China, Netherlands, Austria, just, you know, didn't really work for those 2 guys, but they've got 2 new opportunities.
Yes, they have indeed. And let's bring you around the circuit. 5.891 kilometers brings us around 18 turns here at Silverstone, with the birthplace of Formula One with 2 DRS zones. And it's time to take you round the lap with one of the great drivers.
Hi, I'm Lewis Hamilton, and this is a lap of Silverstone. Naturally, my home Grand Prix. A couple of the coolest sections are the old Copse, which is now flat, and Maggots and Beckett's, which is a really high-speed section. So check it out. So coming across the start line in Silverstone, turn 1 is flat. You're just shifting up into 8th gear through here, trying to be as smooth as possible and scrub as little speed up as possible. Breaking down to turn 3. It's not so easy, but it's pretty flat in a sense. But this kind of fast chicane, it's really just about trying to keep the minimum speed up. Then you're up down to the back straight, DRS open under the bridge, breaking down into Brooklyn's. This is a very kind of wide corner on the way in. It gets tighter, and then you've got the long sweeping right-hander, which takes ages to get around. Feels like it never stops. And it's an odd line, it's multiple lines through there. Then down the old pit straight, flat into cops. Very, very hard to find the right turning point. You can't go too wide, otherwise you get a penalty on the exit. Then you're flying up to Max and Beckett's. This is flat out here, but positioning is everything to line yourself up for the exit of 13, which is here. Very, very bumpy, and everything's kind of rattling in the car. Then flat out down Hangar Straight, trying to set your position, your eyesight set on Stowe Corner, which is incredibly fast. And it's really about having a compromise of entry, mid, and exit, breaking down to a short chicane, and then flat around the last corner.
And that's a lap of Silverstone then, as taken through by the 7-time champion in Lewis Hamilton. And of course, the drivers will be out there in qualifying at the moment to decide their place on the newly named Hamilton Straight on that start-finish line. I mean, it's got a track history, it's got a lot of history, and adding Hamilton's name to that straight there is only ever adding more to that everlasting history that Silverstone really has on the Formula One calendar.
It really is. So deserving is Lewis Hamilton. He is, absolutely a defining driver of our generation, possibly the defining driver of our generation. I mean, he's got some incredibly stiff competition going up against, Sebastian Vettel winning so many championships in the early 2010s as well. But yeah, he is one of the best. And he's also so close to my age that it makes me feel terrible. Every time I see Lewis Hamilton do something great, I think, wow, I should be doing that as well too, because we are very nearly the exact same age, and he has done so much more with his life. But holy cow, we have to switch topics, because look at that weather. That is going to shake things up today.
It really wouldn't be the British Grand Prix without a bit of British weather thrown into it as well. It really, really wouldn't. But of course, we are here in Challengers then. Short qualifying for the Grand Prix at Silverstone for round number 5. And if you are unfamiliar with the format, it is short qualifying for the first round of the evening. We then have Spa-Francorchamps straight after that, but it will be one-shot qualifying at the just over 7 kilometres that Spa has to offer. So really only one shot to get that lap right. It's a long lap, so you've really got to have the nerve to get the lap right. Here though, the drivers, well, I would say go out there for a couple of laps, maybe one shot it, in terms of a longer session. They'll get a couple of attempts, but really in the rain, Justin, the strategy can change when it comes to wet qualifying.
Yeah, you end up with a whole different set of problems. One of those is, are they going to need any intermediate tires? You don't get a ton of wet weather tires, obviously. So you have to think about that. If the weather is scheduled to be rainy or have any sort of precipitation for the race as well, then you have to really take care of the tires. Now, they don't wear out quite as fast as the slicks do. So, if you have to do a couple of laps of back-to-back, that's okay. You can get away with doing that and still run quite long into the race. But yeah, just as you said, it's a whole different set of challenges, and it's going to bring almost certainly some kind of shakeup to the grid, which is possibly going to make things very exciting for lap 1.
Yeah, it really does separate out this grid just a little bit more. It really will try and find the drivers who really excel in those tricky conditions as we now make our way on towards the Wellington Straight. On board with Schumacher, of course, Marcel Olstad, who finds himself currently 4th place in the championship. He's saying he's doing a very good job. He's loving it out here at the moment, and I think it's starting to show.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's making his way through Luffield now, which it's a corner that already feels like it takes forever to get through, but in these kinds of conditions, just takes even longer. But Schumacher, as you said, 4th in the standings, has had a good run of things so far, and I imagine is going to be looking to extend that here today. The problem is, though, with these kinds of tracks, when you have Silverstone and Spa on the same day, you're going to have every single driver that wants to perform extremely well. Again, just touching on the history of these tracks. all of these guys are going to be putting in just that little bit of extra effort. And as you said, after this race here at Silverstone, we are past the halfway point. So, you know, they become more and more desperate to get some points on the board. It becomes harder and harder to recover from a mistake or some bad luck or something like that.
Yeah, as Alstad now makes his way through the final couple of corners, as he makes his way through Club Corner and on towards the Hamilton Straight, getting a little bit tail happy there, going through the middle of Club Corner. But a 35.9 is the first qualifying lap set in this qualifying session. Sibo there in second place, 37.2, but the laps will be coming in thick and fast as we make our way through. Prinens there, that's actually Nicholas Klasani, so one of the top guys out there, currently 5th place in the championship so far. And of course, he is rightly remembered for his move at Netherlands. I can't remember exactly how it went down though, Justin. That seems to have faded from my memory somehow.
Well, yeah, there's been a lot between now and then, and a lot of racing as well too. Certainly the virtual GP as well as Timon, our championship leader on the PS4 side. It is PS4 today, and then we'll have the Xbox and PC guys coming a little bit later on. But Timon briefly took the quickest time, but then Matthias goes a 10th and a half quicker. Look at that. We're seeing almost a 1.5 seconds just from first all the way down to 12th, a little over a 1.5 seconds. VSR Domi not quite setting a time that's representative of him. I would expect him to find quite a bit. But these guys, of course, just getting a time on the board for right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Name change at the last across the line, though. 38.6 puts him in 16th place right now. That's Vila Hamalainen, who's now making his way once again in towards Village. And those times you can see they're about 2 seconds off. It's very much likely that the drivers are not happy with that lap. They've backed out of it and will go again for another lap. Normally, what happens when you get into a wet qualifying stage is that you do tend to side on 2-3 laps per sets of tyres. Of course, as you were talking about, Justin, the limited tyres that these drivers have, including the wet weather tyres, you only get 4 sets of intermediates from qualifying onwards. You only get 3 sets of wet tyres. So you really have to be, if it's going to be raining in the race, then you have to really try and be a little bit cautious about how many tyres you actually get through in qualifying. Of course, if it's a dry race, then of course, feel free to use all the intermediates as your heart's content.
Yeah, exactly that. And if it is expected to be a dry race, then yeah, they could just go nuts, throw on a new set after each hot lap and just go out there. But otherwise, we may see people setting multiple laps. It's not ideal because you have to fuel up, obviously, for those multiple laps, and carrying around that additional weight is going to slow you down. But you know, sometimes it takes a couple of laps just to kind of get into the rhythm of things, especially in these kinds of conditions where ultimately the drivers would have done less practice. I would expect the drivers to do wet weather practice for Silverstone, as you said, very typical weather. So I would expect that they've done some wet weather practice, but ultimately they would have done the vast majority of their practice in the dry.
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you, as they make their way through. As you know, you always come into a race and you always think, right, we need to get around here the quickest way possible. The quickest way possible will be in dry weather, so you naturally sort of bias yourself towards practicing in the dry. But as we've mentioned before, the British weather does love to throw a little bit of a joker card every now and again. Timon Shooter, though, currently on provisional pole position. There is VSR Duncan now making his way all the way through as he's taking it at a leisurely pace through Maggots and Beckett's, then in towards Chapel, as he now makes his way through, riding on board with him now as he takes us on towards the Hangar Straight and downwards towards Copse. And well, once again, you can see it is still raining out there, very much so. We're just over 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit deceiving when you see it from an off-board shot. You really got to go on board with one of the cars just to understand the amount of precipitation. Because, yeah, I was thinking for a moment there, maybe it's drying up, but no, not at all. Duncan showing us just how wet it is in Sector 3, actually, as he's just coming to the end of this lap. Oh, just again, the back end trying to step out at corner entry, at corner exit as well, too. Just oversteer everywhere, understeer everywhere. And, you know, that's another thing that we haven't really touched on. Of course, if the race is expected to be dry, then that means these guys are going to be driving around with essentially dry weather setups in the wet weather, which could explain all of the slipping and sliding that we're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a point there, haven't you? As we see now, Duncan Hoffland now making his way on towards the Wellington straight. Of course, Duncan Hoffland currently 7th place in the series so far, only 3 points away from breaking into that top 6. And this is where crunch time starts to happen as we now try and glide our way in towards Luffield there. You've got to be really careful on the power. Then again, the back end wants to step out as you now make your way through Woodcote and on towards Copse Corner. Now, normally here you'd pretty much drop a gear if you're brave enough to try and go through there full throttle, maybe a lift going through, still not quite full throttle in these cars in the dry, let alone in these damp conditions as we now make our way through Maggot and through Beckett on towards Chapel Corner. A great series of corners here, especially in the dry. There's so much downforce that keeps that car absolutely planted. You can take a lot of speed through there.
And that's why I love circuits like this in Spa, is because they make the downforce really work quite hard, because you're taking such high speed through the corners. Even in these conditions, they're carrying such high speeds through the corners at the apexes. And that's what I love. These cars are designed to do exactly that. And it's just kind of great to see them in their natural habitat. A street circuit like Monaco brings its own appeal and that kind of thing. But for me, I will always love these kinds of circuits the most, where an F1 car can kind of just be an F1 car.
It sounds good, doesn't it, when an F1 car can be an F1 car? That just sounds right, doesn't it? That sounds absolutely right. Hoffland then does go to provisional pole position by just under 300th of a second. We're watching then Simo as he makes his way now down the hangar straight and onwards towards Copse Corner once again. Simeone Yamotti then currently yet to score some points on the board in the series as we head in towards round number 5, but never say never. There's still quite a way to go in this series as he now makes his way onwards towards the final couple of corners. Looks like he's winding up here to start a lap.
Yeah, it sure does. Just making his way through the final couple of corners now. And we are into the second half of this qualifying session. There's still enough time for him to, put in a lap, get back in, get back out. But who knows if he needs to be on used tires for that next run. This might be his final run on a new set of tires for all we know. We're of course not privy to that kind of information. You can see him just going offline ever so slightly there through that right-hander. You will see very differing lines through the wet weather conditions. Of course, you're more likely to see differing lines anyway when the conditions are like this. So making his way down through Brooklands and into Luffield once again. Again, the corner that just feels like it will never end. You're just holding that wheel to the right-hand side for so long, just waiting to get onto the power. And when he finally does, it still kicks out the back end.
Oh, absolutely. You're just not going to get away with it, especially in these slippery conditions. Now, there is Javier Perez, currently 16th place, yet to set really a representative lap time on the board. Well, he's looking forward tonight. He said that Spa and Silverstone are some of his favourite circuits. His aim for tonight is to be up in the standings after tonight's races have finished. We'll see what happens. Everything is very close. I kind of agree with him. You look through that standing there, and especially that battle for, well, let's say third place right now. You've got Valentin Brufner, who's third place, 42 points. Now, you take into account of Javier Perez, that's 2 positions between them. It's 7 points between the 2 drivers there. Take a look at Guillaume Darunia, who's currently 8th place in the standings, 29 points, so 11 points behind Javier Perez. It is immensely close as we head towards that halfway point.
And he's only, Guile is only 4 points behind Perez, but between Javi Vera, who goes 7th quickest with that time. Much more representative that time. He becomes one of 4 drivers to get into the .5s. Via Sardomi, another one, as Petrix actually shoots up into 6th position as well. But yeah, just coming back to Javier Perez in 6th position, you're right. He's very, very close to getting up into the top 4. So he's in a very, very cluttered area of the championship, and he's also in big danger of being knocked outside of that all-important top 6 as well. So let's see what Domi is going to be able to manage. He crosses the line, and it's 2nd quickest by 1,000th of a second. Things are really starting to tighten up at the top.
Aren't they just? Domenico Lavecce just can't quite find that 1,000th of a second he needed to try and at least draw level with Hovland there at the top of the table. But just under 5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. It is still Hovland at the top of the table. Lavecce in 2nd place with Shooter rounding off the top 3. The gap between the top 3, 0.031 seconds. The gap between, well, looking all the way down to P13, all well within 3/4 of a second as Petrox retires from the session. somewhere out there in Sector 2.
Worth pointing out, by the way, I just was having a look after speaking about Javi Vera. He's only scored points in 2 of the 4 rounds that he's raced in so far. So his average points per race when he finishes in the points is actually quite high. His 33 points that he's got is just from the 2 podiums that he got in it was Vietnam and Austria. Where he picked up podium. So yeah, he's had a bit of bad luck, and he's still in that top 6 position. So he's definitely going to be one to watch. He's a little bit further down in the standings, I would say, than maybe what he deserves based on the pace that we've seen from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Riding on board then with Yamalo as he now negotiates his way all the way through Aintree and then on towards the Wellington Straight. He now makes his way down that long back straight. Then we head our way in towards, just flicking that car through in towards Brooklands. Then we go towards Luffield, and again, it's just one of those corners you've got to be so patient on the throttle before you can actually put it down and try and build some speed out of the corner. There is Zach then as he now makes his way down towards Stowe there. That's Isaac Hajar flying his way through there, running on board with the front wing as he makes his way slightly downwards, then through Vale and then towards the club corner section. That left then right, very tricky, that low speed there to keep that car all under control, but he makes it look very easy there as he makes his way towards the line, enough to go 9th fastest with that last attempt.
I'm gonna miss the Renault yellow. I know, and it's super weird seeing the pink racing points as well too, because of course, we have the benefit of having seen a lot of the 2021 car launches and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really just bizarre for me, going back to all of these and not calling him Aston Martin and all of that kind of stuff. But honestly, I think it's great. I'm really going to miss that Renault yellow. I'm going to miss the pink racing point. I am going to miss a lot of the paint jobs and liveries that we had for the 2020 season. But yeah, Duncan, he's involved in that battle for the top 6. Currently sitting 2nd quickest. You have to say things are looking pretty good for him. He's got another race that he's got to perform at Spa coming up after this one. Just again, for those who are just joining, who haven't been here for any of the F1 Esports Challengers so far this season, we got 2 races here today. This is just the first qualifying of that first race.
Absolutely, as Marcel Olstadt is currently the fastest driver out there so far by just under half a 1/10 of a second, currently holding on to that provisional pole position. Hofland, though, is making his way through Stowe and then onwards towards Vale, towards Club Corner once again. He has got a Ferrari ahead of him there who pulls right out of the way, right off that racing line, and all the way through now, through that Club Corner section. Hofland now makes his way across the line. And is this going to be an improvement? No, it's not, but he's still got time for another lap. But this will be last chance saloon for him.
Yeah, exactly that. It's about 95 seconds to complete a lap, and a bit less than that. So this will be his final attempt. Timon as well, too. This will be his final attempt for the current championship leader, who currently sits in 4th position, which I imagine is, that's good enough. I assume he wants to be higher up than that, but certainly that puts him in the right position to be competitive for the race win. So he can be happy about that for the meantime. But Dario actually going quickest of all, 135.052. That is an impressive time.
Yeah, it is. It really is, as he's making his mark here in this stage of this qualifying session. And it's a good time to make that judgment there, an assumption like this late on into qualifying. It will really help you out. Meanwhile, then we're on board with Timon Shooter then as he takes us now on towards the Hangar Straight, using a little bit of slipstream there from Britain's up ahead. That's Nicholas Klasani. Of course, Klasani wouldn't have meant that, of course, but it's helped out Timon just a little bit. Every little helps, Illa said, as he now tries to make his way through. Then onwards we go through Vale and then towards the Club Corner section, trying to get that car slowed down and turned in for the tight left-right-hander. You can hear there, trying to wait for that throttle, trying to wait for that bite. Is it enough for pole? It's enough for 2nd fastest right now, so it's front row for now for Timon Shooter as the clock expires. And I think here Timon Shooter might have a chance to go for another lap. Meanwhile, Matthias takes pole position, and then it's quickly dispossessed by Duncan Hoffman by once again 1,000th of a second. That gap is coming up again and again.
Incredible stuff. I am loving this battle for pole position. Further back, things are a little bit more spread out than what we're used to seeing so far this season, but this is incredible at the pointy end.
Absolutely. So Schumacher there is the first to take that checkered flag. Then Marcel Olstadt has finished his second. Boss then 15th place for him. He's taken the checkered flag. And that's Diego Rossi down there in 15th place. But still, all those drivers out there who've not got a checkered flag to their name have still got a chance to grab that provisional pole position. Yamalo then third place for him will be the highest he will go with a 35.052. We're watching then Matthias Van Erl. Matthias then trying to make his way through. Now we see Falconardi through the final couple of corners. Where can he put that? P7, can he improve? Yes, he can. He goes up now into 6th place, which is now the 3rd row of the grid. So nice lap time from Bernardo Perez. Meanwhile, then on board with Tymon Shooter, then he's really got one more chance. He's got Hofland ahead as well as Van Erven to try and contest this pole position. He'll be first to the line. Will he be able to try and set a banker lap? Will he be able to try and set that marker down to try and grab himself pole position? He now makes his way through the final couple of corners and on towards that start-finish straight. Back end really struggling to keep the grip, and Tymon goes 3rd fastest. How about Van Erven? He'll grab pole position. Will he be displaced by Duncan? Well, we'll have to find out, but Matthias Van Erven currently at the top of the table. Vasta Racer, though, takes over. Valentin Bruffer takes over that pole position for now. So all we now wait is for Duncan Hofland, currently 3rd place in the standings right now. Javi Vera grabs 10th place then as the one of the last of the runners. But there is Duncan Hofland. He's backed out of his lap time. So it is going to be a pole position from Valentin Bruffer. We didn't expect that one. We expected a battle between Matthias, Duncan and Tymon, and there comes Valentin Bruffer to grab pole position right under our noses.
And Matthias as well, CRG Matthias just 2 1,000ths off and also 2/10ths quicker than the rest of the field. Those two guys just found some serious time right in the closing stages. I wonder if maybe the rain just let up in one sector or something right at the end there, because that 2/10th gap between the top two and the rest of the field is very surprising, especially considering how close it was in the top 5 for the entirety of that qualifying session. I have to say, that is hugely impressive from both of those guys.
I mean, it's just over half a second covering the top 10 in that qualifying session. And especially in these tricky conditions, that's by no means a mean feat. But it's going to be a pole position then for Valentin Bruffer, who takes pole position for the Grand Prix here in Britain. It's then Matthias Van Erven, 2,000ths of a second off the pole position time. It's enough for 2nd place and the front row on the grid. Then it's Duncan Hofland grabbing the last of the top 3 positions. Going to the rest of the order then, it's Tymon in 4th, Dario Fish, Schumacher in 6th, Nardi in 7th, Domi in 8th, Zach in 9th, and Javi Vera rounding off the top 10. It's Klasani in 11th, Simo in 12th, Petrux 13th, Giel in 14th, Boss 15th, and Name Changer rounding off the top 16. Top 14 covered by less than 9/10ths of a second, even in these tricky conditions. Well, all focus now goes towards the race, Justin. I mean, it was a very close qualifying. I can guarantee you it's going to be a very close race.
And of course, because of the wet qualifying, if it's dry, then drivers can pick any compound that they want, and it'll be completely fresh as well. So you can start on a set of the softs and go 1 or even 2 laps further than you would have done normally had you been starting on a set of the used softs. Similarly, the mediums can take you even further as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this shakes up the strategy, the planned strategy for these guys, because yeah, it is clear blue skies. That is typical British. It's chucking it down and then absolutely gorgeous outside. So yeah, that's going to make things interesting. Again, drivers can essentially pick whatever they want now.
Yeah, the weather in Britain is just as unpredictable as who will win the race here in F1 Esports Challengers. It really is that unpredictable. Well, one thing is going to be for sure is tyre wear and tyre temperatures are going to be huge around here. There's lots of middle speed corners that'll ask a lot from the aero, but also a lot from the tyres in turn. So keeping your tyres cool enough to get you themselves the performance and making sure you keep up with the pace is going to be a real challenge for these drivers. But we're about to head into race mode now here at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. Lining up then on the newly named Hamilton Straight, onto the grid we will go. And we are moments away from this British Grand Prix. We count up the lights. It is 5 red lights. We're racing in Silverstone. What are the starts like? Hammerlinen's got himself a drive-through penalty for jumping the start, but we're going to be side by side then as we head in towards the first couple of corners for the very first time. Can everybody make their way through? Matthias then takes over the lead of this race then as we make our way in towards the third turn, in through Village and now in towards the loop. It's 3-4 wide as we headed in towards the loop there, but it looks like everybody's made it through okay. But Matthias van Erven got a great start there. He's jumped Valentin Bruffer off the start and takes the lead of this race. There's Yemelo then trying to go defensive. In we go towards Brooklands for the very first time. There's Leveche then. We're following that Haas now as he makes his way round the outside of Luffield. Can he try and take a position up the order? That's Marcel Oldstadt. He's gone off. He's hit the wall. He's hit the old pit lane wall there as he tried to light up those rear tyres. It didn't work and he's found himself with no front wing, and Marcel Oldstadt is in a world of trouble now.
Yeah, fourth in the championship, but he's 16th in this race, and we're not even done with lap one. Name changer with that penalty as well. Dario picking up a couple of positions, starting from 5th on the grid, if I remember correctly, up into 3rd, using those soft compound tires to good effect. Domi, another driver who's got the soft compound tires, he's running right behind Zach, who looks for the overtake on Duncan, looking to the inside line into Stowe, gets that door shut, and then Domi says, thank you very much, takes both positions, still side by side. He's going to have to go around the outside through this left-hander, gets the inside line through the penultimate corner, and he's up 2 positions. What a move. Opportunistic from Domi making those soft tires work.
Well, talk about quick reactions. He had to quickly decide what he wanted to do there, and Leveche chose exactly right. He got that position. He got the 2 positions there. Nice and easy for him, and moves himself now up into 5th place. You can see it's a very, very split strategy. Only 4 drivers started this race on the soft tyres, and so they will have to try and make them last as long as possible. Everyone else went for the medium tyres. You would think, though, that only the softs and the mediums will really be used in this race unless the dire circumstances say otherwise, as that's Yemelo then trying to look up the inside of Bruffer as we now make our way in towards Luffield for the second time in this race. And of course, there you can see Yemelo is on the soft tyres, Bruffer is on the mediums. So in terms of tyre compound advantage, it lies with Yemelo right now. He's got to try and make this advantage work by getting past Bruffer ahead of him as we now make our way, charging all the way through Koch. Then we head towards Maggot and then Beckett, then through Chapel. And this is where the dirty air will really hit you there. And the fact that Yemelo has 2 cars causing all that drag off of him, he loses a bit of performance there, but now he will have that slipstream. No DRS yet, of course, but you can see he's using that ERS battery. Bruffer then tries to defend that inside, then sticks to his racing line, trying to make Yemelo guess where he's going to go. And Van Erven then hitting at the end of lap 2. Very early call from him. Wonder which tyres he's going to be on for the end of the race.
That's very early. I have to assume that is planned. Of course, the 2 Ferraris leading the way does make things difficult with them sharing the pit box, as Domi setting the fastest lap. Again, he is on those soft compound tires. But yeah, that's earlier than I would have expected, but I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I think he can make the mediums work till the end. He's going to have to do 11 laps on them.
Yeah, absolutely. But the medium tyres we know are a good tyre around here. But obviously you have to use 2 compounds. Yeah, they are a good tyre, but you have to use 2 compounds in the race, and you have to use a quote-unquote mandatory tyre. The medium tyre is the mandatory tyre, but of course then you have to use 2 different compounds. So you'd either use the hards or the softs. So for these drivers here, they're either going to be using those 2 tyres, the red-walled softs and the yellow-walled medium tyres. But at the moment then, Valentin Bruffer leads the race though. It's Yemelo in 2nd place, Leveche rounding out the top 3.
Yeah, I saw a gap was starting to form just behind the top 3, but I think things have started to calm down a little bit. On board with Petrix in the Red Bull, making his way through the Maggots Beckett second. This is the part where you don't want to be behind a car ahead of you, because you're going to be, of course, picking up lots of dirty air. It's going to be slowing you down, but then he gets the DRS. He picks up the slipstream. Can he find the inside line on the run down towards Stowe? I don't think he's going to be close enough unless he has an almighty dive, but no, he hangs back for the meantime, closes up, and we've got some more cars heading into the pit. As Vasta Racer, though, picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and this is where we're going to find out if Matthias is a genius or if he's made a mistake by pitting at the end of lap 2.
I think Yemelo picked one up there as well. 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. You are going at such a high speed as you exit out of Stowe, as you go down Vale and then towards the pit lane entrance there. That line comes up so quickly, and it's such a slow speed limit in the pit lane as well. 50 kilometers per hour in there. It's really easy to catch you out there. It's such an easy mistake to make. Everyone will do it at least once. in their career here. And unfortunately for those drivers there, they've just left their braking a little bit too late. They love to leave it till the very, very last meter to hit the speed limit there. But there you can see that's Van Erven, who's then rejoined ahead of Bruffer there. And there is Matthias Van Erven retaking the provisional lead of this race as he's rejoined now behind Lavecce, who's in a mad battle here with Duncan Hoffman. And as we make our way down the Wellington Straight on towards the left-hander of Brooklands once again.
It's not traffic because, of course, these guys are in the race. You know, this isn't lap traffic or anything like that. But this is not going to be doing Matthias any favors whatsoever, being stuck behind a Haas that's on medium compound tires. They are brand new medium compound tires, but that's still that's not going to be much consolation for him. So I imagine he's going to be frustrated. You can see how close Vaster Racer is. Just the two Ferraris running back to back. And again, these are not teammates. If you are new to this series, these just happen to be the cars that they're racing in. They have no obligation to be friendly with each other whatsoever.
No, it's every driver for themselves out here. As DRS is, of course, online as we are on the 5th lap. It's activated on lap number 3 as Matthias Van Erven then now finds himself behind Lavecce and Hofland, who have both made pit stops in this race. And there you can see Lavecce is now on a set of medium tyres. Now, they are a good tyre to perform on. We know what tyre wear at Silverstone can be like. It is very much against the wall. It's really, you have to be an expert at that tyre management in order to make these strategies work.
Yeah, exactly that. You really need to be on top of your game here. Oh, that was a Renault just coming out of the pits. I think that was Zach. Yeah, just rejoining just inside the top 10 and just narrowly ahead of Petrix in a Red Bull sandwich. Yeah, he's running just behind Javi Vera, who we're having a look at now. He's just inside the point scoring positions and making his way down towards the popular overtaking location at Brooklands, and he's not able to go on the attack at the moment. Not having the most interesting of races is Javi Vera at the moment, but a little bit further up the road, battle for the lead. Timon in second position, running behind Dario, who again had that fantastic start. Currently finds himself in the lead with that time penalty, though, and he's got Timon right behind him. And also Dario is on the medium compound tires, worth keeping in mind.
Yes, so he's looking to try and make that last as long as possible. Timon Shooter, meanwhile, will be looking to try and open up that DRS and try and take the lead of this race. Then looking around the inside then as we make our way in towards the right-hander of Stowe, and he takes away that lead of the race then and moves into a good position here to just try and open up the gap to the cars behind. So Yamalo then goes down to second place, and that is Villa Hammerleinen there, who of course had that drive-through for jumping the start. Is in third place right now, but hasn't made a scheduled stop as of yet.
Yep. Still hanging on, and I imagine not for too much longer, though. Again, this can be quite the punishing circuit, and you might think it's the high-speed corners, but that's where you get the downforce assistance, as you were touching on earlier, Kieran. It's really the medium and low-speed corners. Holy cow, Duncan is making the overtake long before they get into the braking zone, but actually the DRS on Prince on Klosani was able to allow him to kind of keep alongside the racing point as it got into the braking zone. But with that inside line, Duncan is able to move himself up into that 4th place position. And he doesn't have a penalty as well. He's got a couple of cars ahead of him that have penalties. He's going to be looking to get by them as quickly as he can, though. He wants to go after Timon. Every single one of these drivers wants the race win, even if it's only on track. You know, even if they have a penalty, they're still going to be looking to cross the line first, if only as a statement of intent.
And they will battle tooth and nail for it.
Exactly.
Even if they have those penalties, they will battle as hard as they possibly can. Approaching the halfway stage then in the first round of tonight. Don't forget, we are going straight to Spa at the end of the Grand Prix in Silverstone. But Timon Shooter here leading the way. Yemelo in second place, Hammerleinen in third. Hofland we're riding on board with currently in 4th place. And then, of course, it is Klasani in 5th, Lavecce in 6th, Van Erven in 7th place. And then it's the Vaster Racer there in 8th place. That is Valentin Ruffer rounding up that top 8 so far. But yeah, still a long way to go in this race, and lots of drivers here will be trying to make some moves happen. Duncan Hoffland trying to be one of them. He's got name changer ahead of him, of course. That is Ville Hammerleinen. But there you see, Hammerleinen's got some DRS and actually pulls away. Meanwhile, then, we've got a Haas going up the inside. That's Lavecce who's going up the inside. I believe that was of Offland there, but sorry, no, it was Matthias then. He did get past, didn't he? Through we go, and he has got through. The Haas is now ahead, and now is becoming a little bit of a problem for Brynens here. And, well, I think Leveche there is looking to just try and make his way through the field. He's on medium tyres, and he's now trying to challenge Brynens there. Nicholas Klasani, as we make our way through Maggots and through Beckett here, he might have a chance down the Hangar Straight.
It's impressive to see some of these medium runners actually doing so well, like Dario in second position. I thought he was really going to fall off the back of Timon after losing that lead, but he's doing a great job of holding on to the back of that Mercedes.
Yes, Leveche couldn't quite make that DRS work. Then, of course, when a driver ahead of you has DRS, it's always a little bit more difficult to try and make the move past then, as that's Simo who has retired from the race. That's Simone Yamotti, and so too has Nardi, who has retired from the race. That's Bernardo Perez out of the race. Both of them out somewhere in Sector 3. So we are down to 14 runners. So Olstat will at least go up 2 positions there. As you can see, Leveche thought about a move up the inside going in towards Village, but no way through so far as they now make their way through the loop. And there you can see Van Erven and Bruffa trying to find a way past Leveche as well. It's nice and tight at the top of the order at the pointy end. Time and Shooter still leads.
There are 10 people in the top 11 picking up DRS, which is exactly what I like to see. We still got 5 and a bit laps remaining in this first of 2 races. Again, make sure you guys stick around after this race because we're going to be heading to Spa, which is my new #1 favorite F1 track after Malaysia got booted off the calendar. So it is my new #1 favorite track on the calendar. So really looking forward to that. So make sure you guys stick around. Of course, we've got the one-shot qualifying coming up as well, which is always a highlight for me personally too.
Absolutely, as we now make our way once again down the Hangar Straight. You've got Leveche then, who's still under pressure from Van Erven behind, but he wants to try and close in on Klasani ahead of him right now. It's a little bit of a stalemate then, as both drivers ahead and drivers behind all have the DRS. So although they're all getting that top speed, they're not really closing into the car ahead, and you can find yourself in that stalemate at the moment. What matters right now is keeping a consistent pace to make sure you can challenge towards the end of the race. We're into lap number 9 then. We've got 5 laps to go then. Shooter still leads from Yemelo in second place. Hammerleinen still up there in third place.
Still very, very close. And in fact, Gil has closed up and gotten into within DRS range as well. So now we have 11 cars picking up DRS in the top 12. So yeah, things are just getting more and more exciting as the laps tick down. And of course, also, as the laps tick down, I do think that is going to favor the medium runners. So keep your eyes on the likes of Dario, Domi, and Zach. I think as the laps go down and as these softs get more and more worn, I think the mediums could come into their own. Again, I expected the medium runners to struggle more initially after the pit stop phase, but they're doing a great job of clinging to the back of these soft runners, and you might start to see some overtakes as we get closer and closer to the end of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. As Hammerleinen, though, I don't think it's actually been for his mandatory pit stop in this race so far. I think he's the only driver not to have visited the pits so far. He's on the same tyres he started on because, of course, he had a drive-through penalty, which means you're not allowed to change anything in the car. You're not allowed to stop in your pit box when you take that penalty. So I'm expecting Hammerleinen to pit in at some point in this race, but he's very happy right now to just stay on these tyres. I wonder how much that's going to cost him towards the end when he eventually has to change the tyres he's on.
Yeah, it's a bold strategy. I can't claim to understand it, if I'm being totally honest, but he may be onto something. I have no idea. He's currently running around in third, but again, still has to come into the pits. It may be one of those situations where it's, just beneficial to run that harder. Oh, look at that. Sneaky up the inside from the Red Bull of Javi Vera, trying to find a position on Vasta Racer, who again, was the pole man. I can't even believe I'm saying that, but that Ferrari in his position. Oh, yeah, Zach on the inside now.
Hajar trying to move up the inside there, but couldn't find that way through. Just not quite there. The ambition was there, though, through Brooklands, but he just couldn't quite find that gap and make it stick then. But he's right now all over the back of Javi Vera. That's Javier Perez then in the Red Bull ahead of him now, making our way flying through cops once again. And there you see then Isaac Ajar going down to 7th very late on in Cops there, just to make sure he gets some sort of speed back going again. And of course here, ERS management is crucial because you've got a lot of medium speed corners, so there's not a lot of heavy braking zones to regenerate your energy. So you've really got to be wary about how, where and when you use your ERS to make those moves. And right now, you've got DRS to help you, so it's all about using it to help you accelerate off that line in order to make sure you keep up with the pack. But there you can see 11, 12 drivers in this battle for the lead, and we are now 3 laps to go. I mean, this could be anybody's race. Make your bets now, because it really could be anybody.
At the moment, though, you have to say it's looking good for Timon to become the first repeat winner for this 2021 F1 Esports Challengers Series season. It's very possible. Again, Dario's got that penalty, but Duncan right behind hasn't even been on the podium yet. So if Duncan can manage to work a little bit of magic here, then he could become yet another brand new winner.
Well, again, place your bets. It literally could be anybody. But yes, Timon Shooter could become the first to really try and get a repeat winner on the board. We've got a replay for you here. So this will be the move for the lead of the race. So we're riding on board with Yemelo then. We're making our way through Maggots and then through Beckett as we make our way through now that long right-hander. And there you can see ERS online, DRS wide open. You can see their Shooter tries to his best to try and break the toe down the hanger straight, but there's no stopping Yemelo when he's got all that speed to his advantage. Made the move then right before Stowe and takes the lead of the race.
That's an interesting one. That closing speed was suspiciously high, and I think Timon might have had like he accidentally shifted twice when he was shifting up, so, something like that. Foot slipped off the throttle. I have no idea, but that was strange to me, the way that he caught up to that Mercedes, because it was a pretty big gap as they were coming out of Maggots and Beckett's and coming onto that straight. Yeah, closed in absolutely massively. And I do wonder if Timon is having some kind of problem. Look at that gap now. He has nearly fallen out of DRS range. And I mean, I don't think that's going to be purely down to the age of the tires. I mean, look at Name Changer still on those 11-lap-old tires, still hanging on in 4th position. Only just though, he's in danger of falling out of DRS range as well. So, yeah, strange things going on at the front.
Really are, as I think Timon there, I think that is a strategic decision, because now you can see, obviously you can see the drivers around you and how many penalties they have. Maybe that's a strategic move from Shooter to make sure he has DRS to protect himself from Duncan behind. I kind of think that's a strategy that he's now trying to implement so that he can have some sort of defense against Hoffland in the closing stages.
200 IQ plays, if that is in fact what he is doing. That is absolutely insane. And Duncan has actually fallen outside of the DRS range. So if that was Timon's strategy this whole time, it has worked a treat.
I tell you, the drivers are working stuff out whilst they're out on the track and trying to make sure they keep to their... It's absolutely great, isn't it? It is fantastic to watch, as that is Hammerlinen, who is finally pitting in to change on to another set of tyres. 11-lap-old, in fact now 12-lap-old soft tyres. He's managed to make it right till the absolute last possible moment to change onto new rubber, and he's going to pit in now. He'll fall outside of the top 10, but I mean, 11 laps on those tyres here in a 25% race, that is astonishing. We're on to the last lap now, and Timon Shooter at this moment in time will be in the prime position to take the win here and become the first repeat winner on PS4 here in F1 Esports Challengers, riding on board with him as we make our way through Brooklands for the last time, through Luffield as well. Yemelo will take the win on track, but at the moment right now, it's looking increasingly likely that Shooter will take the win overall once penalties have been applied. But we now make our way down the old pit straight, down in towards Cop's Corner now, really flying your way through that right-hander. Onwards we go towards Maggots and Beckett through Chapel one more time then. These great flowing corners here to try and gear yourself up for this long straight. I think actually Shooter here wants the win on track as well. Look at him go. ERS online, DRS wide open. He now takes the lead outright, going down towards Stowe. He wanted that win on track. and tries and gets the move done as well as we make our way onwards then towards the final couple of corners. Through Club Corner we go now, making our way through the last couple of corners. It's going to be Timon Shooter who takes his second race win of Esports Challengers. What a drive from Timon Shooter. It's going to be Duncan Hoffland who finishes in second place and Domenico Lavecce rounding off the podium. So Timon Shooter, the first repeat winner here in F1 Esports Challengers. A really, really good drive from Timon Shooter, our series leader. Further extends his lead at the top.
Impressive stuff. Really, really impressive stuff. And I was having to think while you were just taking us through the final lap there. I think Timon may have also potentially been attempting to pick up the fastest lap because, of course, you get a bonus point. And it just looks really good as well too. If you're able to win and get the fastest lap, to just pick up the absolute maximum points, it looks really, really good to the teams. So I think Timon may have possibly just been saving some ERS. He said, you know what, I'll let this guy by. He's got a penalty anyway. It'll give me the DRS. I can harvest a little bit more ERS as well too. So yeah, we can only hypothesize. Maybe we'll get to hear from the championship leader who extends that championship lead. Domi as well, finishing on the podium. He was second coming into this. He's going to be extending his lead over the rest of the field, but he's of course going to be losing points to Timon in the end, who picks up that second win, his third podium in this series in just 5 races. The 16-year-old has been doing an incredible job. I'm anxious to see what he's going to do at Spa coming up next.
Well, there you go then. Timon Shooter takes his second race win of F1 Esports Challengers here and is rewarded with a huge win here. What a drive as well from Timon Shooter. And of course, using that little bit of strategy to his advantage. We'll have to confirm, of course, if anyone does pick up that fastest lap of the race bonus point. Then Marcel Allstadt, you did see there, finishing the race then in 14th place after his earlier off and hitting the old pit lane wall. But there you go then. Your official, unofficial results then for the British Grand Prix. It's Timon Shooter who takes his second race win of Challengers. Duncan Hoffland in second, and then it's Domenico Lavecce rounding off the top 3. Then it's Matthias in P4, Zach P5, Habibera in P6, Petrox P7, Dario in P8, Gil in P9, and Prinenz is our last points scorer. There you can see Marcel Allstadt did grab the fastest lap of the race bonus. But unfortunately, he's outside of the top 10, so it doesn't actually count as a bonus point. But he does get the pride of being the fastest lap holder for the British Grand Prix. A lot to unpack there, as you can see Dario, with 5 seconds worth of penalties, was second, dropped to 8th. That is how much a 5-second penalty can really cost you here in Challengers.
Yeah, it's pretty costly. You can't win a race with penalties. That's something that we have seen historically in F1 esports, and not just Challengers, in the Pro Series as well too. To win with a penalty is nearly impossible. It's such a rare occurrence.
Well, absolutely. And it just shows you here that if you get pole position in Challenges, doesn't necessarily mean you've got a pathway to the victory. As we saw with Valentin Bruffer tonight, doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to get the win.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, he really, really had a hard time in that one. But again, it was a bit of a strange one, a bit of a wild start as well, too. He lost that lead right at the start, too, which is, that's so demoralizing as well, too, to try and have to fight back for it. He did pick up some points, though, so he can be happy about that. And again, he's got another opportunity right away to try and bounce back from that. And that's what everybody is looking to see. They want to see how people bounce back. It's not how you fall, it's how you get back up.
Yeah, we saw as well Marcel Allstadt. Obviously, he had that incident at the end or the middle of lap 1, spinning up the rear tyres, coming out of Luffield and hitting the old pit lane wall. But fair play to him for sticking in there and finishing this race. He grabbed the fastest lap as well, finishing in P14. Yeah, it's not the greatest thing in the world to finish outside of the points, but I think that really does show how he's committed and that mindset you need, that if something goes wrong, you need to keep going.
Exactly that. And you never know what's going to happen with how close the top 10 were running. a small incident at the front could easily cascade into a massive incident for several people, and then you might end up picking up double-digit points. You know, you never know what's going to happen. So we always like to see people continue on and do what they can despite those kinds of difficult starts. So great to see. We always encourage that sort of thing, and I respect it even more with the 2021 format because you know, the urge to go and start practicing Spa, you know, get in some laps real quick before everybody else, and you know, maybe you'll just have that little bit of an advantage as you go into that one-shot qualifying. I imagine that's very, very tempting, but he hung in there because, of course, the race is where points are earned, not qualifying. It's such a cliche, but it really is true, and I appreciate that he hung in there. And certainly, it you know, one of these days, you never know, it could make all the difference.
We've seen in the past that teams have really looked back at previous results, not how many times you won or how many times you're on the podium, but when adversity struck, how did you react? I mean, that's a good advert for teams right there if he makes the top 6.
Yeah, exactly. Mental strength is a big part of it. You know, you have to be able to take it on the chin whenever something bad happens. You know, you can't control every aspect of the race. Oftentimes we say, you know, champions have to be talented and lucky a little bit because there's so many other talented people that they're going to be racing up against. You got to have a little bit of luck on your side. And when it's not on your side, you just got to do everything you can to try and turn that luck around.
And one driver whose race was really marred from the very start, even earlier than Allstadt, was name changer in Hämäläinen, jumping the start, got himself a drive-through penalty, took the drive-through penalty, I think at the end of lap 1. And then once all the pit stops had happened around him, found himself battling away for P3 and P4 when he still had to make his mandatory pit stop. I mean, he was just there having fun whilst it lasted.
Yeah, and I think it was a good advert for his own skills that he was up there on such worn tires and, you know, putting in very similar lap times, being competitive, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's another one of those situations where, you know, even if the points don't necessarily reflect it, there's still positives to come away from in that race.
And we saw some really good moves as well up and down the field. We saw great moves from Levecce. We saw Van Erven take the lead very early on, going in towards Abbey and Farm. We saw Yemelo then obviously running as high up the order as he was. That 5-second penalty took him back down to 8th place. Hofland showing some good pace as well. Hajar wanted to try and make that move stick. Didn't quite work for him, and he stayed in position. But, I mean, the drivers, when they sense an opportunity, they're not going to think twice about it.
Yeah, Domi might get driver of the day for me purely because of that overtake at the start of the race. The double overtake at Stowe was truly incredible. Very opportunistic, you know, but that's the great racing driver. You got to be able to spot those opportunities, grab it with both hands, take those positions safely, which he did as well too. You know, it's very easy when others are making a mistake to just kind of continue to that trend, and you kind of follow in their tire tracks and that kind of stuff. So to be able to capitalize on that moment, I think really speaks to his skills as a driver. I mean, his position in the championship as well speaks volumes about the kind of season that he's having. But just as a quick glance kind of thing, to see that kind of thing from Domi, that was true. You know, that's why I love racing, is for those moments right there. You know, it's all great from start to finish. I'm having a blast, but you know, that really gets the heart rate going when you see that happening on screen.
Absolutely. And I think once again, we circle back around to talk about, well, what a race it was for Timon Shooter. Becomes one of the first repeat winners of Challengers, taking his second race win, extends his lead at the top in this series. I mean, everything went right for him in the race. He got some good moves in, he showed some really good pace, and he made that decision to, well, we don't know if it was his decision, but I'm assuming it is, to let Yemelo through. So he had the DRS to defend from Hofland. I mean, it's moves like that. It's strategic decisions like that that can really help you in terms of scoring points. And in today's race at Silverstone, it helped him get the win.
Yeah, I really think Timon is kind of like cementing himself as one of the front runners. It's not that he can't be overhauled at this point, because he can be. You know, he can still be caught and overtaken. I think he's probably getting pretty close, though, to being locked in for 6th potentially. Of course, as he builds that gap to the kind of midfield in the championship, he becomes closer and closer to solidifying himself as being in the top 6, guaranteed to be going to the Pro Draft. And happen, that's such a boost to your mentality as a driver when that happens, that it's only going to make him stronger, honestly, when that happens. So, you know, these guys really need to be on top of things. We did see, though, it's not like he just walked away from it. He was under pressure the whole time.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. Duncan Hoffman, meanwhile, started this race outside of that top 6, and now with the points he scored provisionally, now makes his way in towards that top 6. So it just shows you good results. All you need is 1 or 2, maybe even a podium, and you're straight back into that race in the top 6.
Exactly right, and we touched on this before with Perez, Javi Vera. He has only scored in 2 races, and yet he's in the top 6. You know what I mean? It is, as long as you, when you score, as long as you're high up enough, then you can still be in contention. So I think Duncan really, this could be the start of the rest of his season, essentially. You know, it could just be from here on out that he's just a force to be reckoned with, potentially. Because again, you get that momentum going as a racing driver, and you become unstoppable. You become, you know, just almost impossible to catch up to, and that's what the other drivers need to worry about. And you know, if they can put the likes of Timon and Duncan back in their place here at Spa, then that's going to be great news for the rest of the field.
And that's a perfect way to segue towards the next race, of course, the legendary Spa-Francorchamps. 4 meters and 7 kilometers takes us round that, well, on accounts of the calendar, the behemoth. It's the longest race these drivers will go to. One-shot qualifying coming up for them around the longest track on the calendar. It's a recipe for trying to make sure you keep your cool as much as possible.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because, of course, with it's more opportunities to make mistakes as well. It doesn't have the most corners out of all of them, so maybe it's not the easiest to make mistakes at. But when you have a lap that's that long, certainly there are opportunities. And you know, the mistakes at Spa, because of the speeds, can be quite catastrophic. When you do get it wrong, it can go quite wrong.
Yeah, and I think Spa as well has seen its fair share of great races over the years, as we now take you to the heart of the Ardennes Forest for the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. I mean, it's just from here, it looks absolutely amazing. Lots of history behind the track here in Belgium, including one 3-wide move. I wonder where that inspiration came from between one Mika Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher down the Kemmel Straight. I mean, need I say more? Does it need any more of an introduction than Spa-Francorchamps?
I don't think so. It's my favorite of all the tracks on the calendar right now. It's got the overtaking locations. It's got the high speeds. I mean, just look at it.
Absolutely. 7 kilometers just over takes us around the 19 turns in the Ardennes Forest. And to take you around for this lap, I think Justin might just like this one.
Hi, I'm Sergio Perez from Racing Point. I love Spa. I think it's a fantastic place. All the fast, fluid corners. The more famous one, I think you know, it's Rouge, but you have to find time in every single corner. So let's have a look on the onboard, and I hope you enjoy it. So here we start the lap, making sure that we get a good turn 1. It's so easy to lose 2 tenths in this corner. It's a long way down to Rouge, and from that point until the next braking, it's everything flat out. So exit is very important. Rouge these days it's pretty easy. DRS activation there, and again we arrive into our combination of corners, right, left, very fast chicane, trying to be precise in both of them, just touching the white lines, not quite the curves, to make sure you don't upset the car. Very bumpy entry. Missing a bit the apex, but getting a good traction. Then combination of fast corners, pushing hard, turn 11 I think. Oh, this is a fast, using all of the road, inside and outside, just on the limit. Another combination of right left, very important one to make sure that we are on it, and we are onto the final part of the track. Flat out from that point until the next braking zone. It's looking like a great lap. I think that was a pretty solid one. Hard to find anything more, and now we get into the chicane. The tires tend to have a bit of a cooling before we braking, so this is a very hard braking zone. We get a bit of traffic, which is not ideal there because of the tailwind it produces. And then this is the final place. I hope you enjoy it.
And a lap there taken on board with Sergio Perez around this legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Eau Rouge, Radion, the Kemmel Straight, Le Combe, Malmedy, Bruxelles. I mean, the names of these legendary corners goes on and on and on. I can't really think of many people who don't like coming to Spa.
Oh, you said the name of turn 10, which I will not repeat. There are other names. I'll say Le Combe, I'll say La Source, I'll say Radion, Eau Rouge, etc. Pouan. But yeah, turn 10, that's you put an X and a double L in the name, and that scares me as an American.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you've got to take on that challenge head on. That's the only way I can see it.
With confidence.
With confidence, and even if you're wrong, at least you were confident. That's the way I like to see it. But so many great names, so many great corners, and I can't wait to get started. One shot qualifying coming up, and then another 25% race coming your way. I mean, 11 laps around Spa doesn't sound like a lot, Justin, but a lot of thought will go into this tyre strategy. Of course, being the longest circuit on the calendar, it means you've got the most variety out of all of the circuits. Of course, you've got the high aero demands that Eau Rouge and Radion has, but then you've also got the straight, the Kemmel Straight. When you go through Blanchimont, you need to have all the downforce there as well to help you carry as much speed through as you can. And there's a lot of medium speed corners. Pouan, for example, the track goes down as you enter through that double left-hander. There's so much to unpack on this circuit. You really do need the setup to be absolutely at its optimum here.
Well, thankfully, though, we did get that great hot lap with the greatest driver in the history of Formula One. I promise I had no idea that actually Sergio was the one doing the hot lap for Spa, and that was a very pleasant surprise as we get some quotes here from the drivers who will be tackling this absolutely legendary circuit. I'm really looking forward to it. And you kind of touched on it, but I just want to say I really do think that elevation change is part of what makes a great circuit, and it's something that this circuit has in spades, and I think it's part of the reason that it's so great. You touched on that downhill part of Pouan. Of course, everybody knows Eau Rouge and Radion and the elevation change that you get there as well too. But you know, it's that roller coaster effect that you get from this circuit, and the reason for that is the elevation change. And there's too many flat F1 circuits. I want more bumpy, lumpy kind of circuits. Oh, here we go. Now it's getting exciting.
We are into one-shot qualifying, and of course, on the left-hand side, it's time for standing shake-up, as we see now Dario Yemolo making his way in towards La Source, and then on the exit there, very easy to light up those rear tyres. Got to make sure that they're in check then as we make our way now, descending on towards Eau Rouge, and then up the hill through Radion there, blind over the top then, as you try and keep it pinned on the throttle over the crest, on towards the Kemmel Straight then, as we quickly switch there to time and shooter down the Kemmel Straight. DRS wide open as we head our way down towards Le Combe, then braking hard then for the right, left, right, as you're taking all the curb here as much as you can. Make sure you don't take too much curb, of course, otherwise you'll unsettle the car through Malmedy, and then onwards now towards Bruxelles, down in towards the long right-hander, downhill on entry in the braking zone. Really easy to lock up a front brake there through the newly named X corner, and onwards we go then towards the double left-hander of Pouan. We're seeing now Matthias tackle through this long left-hander. Very easy to spin up those rear tyres, especially if you clip the left-hand side curb. The rear tyres will just simply not know what to do. Yemolo then making his way through Lefogna and on towards Campus and Stavolo. These two right-handers here taking as much curve as possible to open up these corners and carry as much speed through as you possibly can. Through Stavolo we go then, and then we quickly switch over to Valentin Bruffa, Vasta Racer, who takes us on board then surely flat out in these cars through Blanchimont there. No fear whatsoever, all flat out through there as we now make our way on towards the last chicane, braking hard then for this slowest part of the track then, trying to get that car turned in for the second left-hander there as we make our way to that short run towards the line, and it is going to be Vasta Racer who grabs pole position by 4 1,000ths of a second. So Valentin Bruffa goes back-to-back pole positions.
Incredible stuff. That is wow. I am blown away that he is able to put, and look at that once again. It's a Ferrari 1-2, and once again, just for the people at home, these are not teammates. So it's not like they're from completely different teams. In fact, VSR and CRG. So that's wild.
That's absolutely incredible. But there you can see Vasta Racer on pole position once again here tonight. Matthias in second place with Domi in third. Dario in fourth with Zach in fifth. Petrox in sixth. Gil in seventh. Schumacher eighth. Brunens in ninth. And Javi Vera is rounding off the top 10. 14th downwards invalidated their lap times. But even so, the top 13 separated by 1.1. You take that down to the top 12, just over 0.6 of a second covers the entire field. We're watching Time and Shooter then with a replay on that lap, and as you can see there, oh yeah, he did not get the entrance of X right at all, did he? That car did not want to play ball. He carried on with the rest of his lap, but he will start down the order. Unfortunately for him, he's going to have to make it up a lot. But again, this is what teams are really looking for. Very, very overcast skies here at Spa-Francorchamps, and where the sun was shining in one-shot qualifying, it's a very, very dull, overcast day when we head to the race.
It's going to be really, really interesting to see how Timon can bounce back from that. I think that's the first ever F1 Esports one-shot qualifying replay, by the way, that we have ever had. So for the statisticians at home, if you want to jot down that little piece of useless information, there you go. But again, there you go. But I am so excited to see what Timon can do from the back. He's going to be one to watch for sure.
Absolutely. We now head in towards the Belgian Grand Prix here. Round number 6, event number 3 for F1 Esports Challengers on PlayStation 4. It is 5 red lights. And we're racing at Spa-Francorchamps. What are the starts like? It's a good start this time around from Bruffer as we make our way now down towards La Source. He's got the inside line. Matthias has the outside line as we make our way through now. Can everybody make it clean through? A little bit of a back end switching out there for name changer, but this is where it happens. Onwards we go through Eau Rouge and Radion. Who's going to remember that there aren't much heat in those rear tyres just yet? Can everybody make it all the way through? Vasta Racer leads the way. Domi now is up into second place, but look at this. Vasta Racer has to defend the inside line as we make our way on towards Les Combes. Down the end of the Kemmel Straight for the very first time. Vasta Racer just holds on to the lead. Domi still in second place. Matthias in third, but we're still battling away. Dario, Zach, and Petrux still trying to battle all the way through for that fourth place. We head now in towards Brussels, and there it is then. Valentin Bruffer holds on to that pole position he earned in that qualifying and still leads the way then as we've got that Mercedes of the CLG. What are the CLG? I mean, Time and Shooter, of course. But yes, he was struggling all the way through there. But he needs to try and get that move done on those medium tyres. He's going to struggle out there. Yemelo, though, we're going side by side between himself and Hajar then. And Yemelo, I think, has just about held on to that fourth place. And he's still holding on then as Hajar tries to make his life a little bit difficult. Petrux then in sixth place as we make our way once again on towards the left-hander, the flying left-hander of Blanchimont.
Everybody in the top 10, obviously on the soft compound tires, just for everybody at home. Also, IGK Boss 92 started on a brand new set of soft compound tires. Everybody below that running on the mediums. Oh, they're getting very, very close at the bus stop chicane there. I thought for sure Gil was going to run into the back of Schumacher there. I think we saw a bit of contact there through the chicane. Might have seen a little bit of damage potentially to one of the cars, but it's a relatively low-speed corner. You can see the Haas of Boss actually trying to go up the inside at turn 1 and pick up a couple of positions again on the medium tires though. So any position, or no, sorry, he was on brand new soft. So yeah, Boss trying to make the most of those brand new soft compound tires, moves himself ahead of Javi Vera.
So there you can see then Vasta Racer still in the lead of this race. Domi in second, Matthias in third. As Dario then, because he's battling so hard with Zach, is starting to lose touch with the top 3, which is what happens when you start battling, especially around a track like Spa-Francorchamps. Time and then riding on board with him, he's got Duncan to deal with ahead as he now makes his way through. Remember, he started this race on the medium tyres, so in theory he should be on the softs towards the end. Of course, if that's where he wants to go with the really aggressive strategy. So it's not the end of the world if he can't find moves past now, but it's a long circuit here, and again, not quite the grip he was expecting going through that left-hander of Ix, and then we head our way through the double left-hander of Puon. Still in 15th place right now, but there's still a long way to go in this one.
Interestingly, though, no major issues. We're coming to the end of lap 2 out of 11, and everybody is still hanging on there. Yeah, you can see less than 7 seconds from first all the way down to last. So Nice and clean. We've seen a little bit of argy-bargy, a few people making contact, but no major incidents, nobody peeling off into the pits or anything like that. But then again, we don't even have DRS activated just yet. That could make things just that little bit more chaotic. We may see an incident potentially unravel here on the third lap as DRS gets activated.
I mean, of course, you don't have many attempts then, as we've got someone into the pits. I think that's Yamalo who's dived into the pits. Is that, again, early on in this race? No, it's Boss who's come into the pits then. So early on, just like we saw at Silverstone, and Boss feels that it's time to change his tyres.
That's interesting. Again, he was the only one that started on fresh softs, though, so I'm a bit confused about his decision to come in. He may have lost a bit of front wing, possibly.
Yeah, that is a possibility, isn't it? As we know, tyre wear around here is very delicate at the best of times on those soft tyres, but you really have to make sure you don't wear them out as long as you possibly can. But riding on board then with Matthias. Meanwhile, we're going side by side as Gil goes side by side with Prinens, and Gil there holds on to that 8th place as Prinens tries to put him under pressure, but I think Gil has got that move done as we make our way in towards Brussels once again. As there you can see Boss, the only driver to have made a stop in this race so far. Of course, you have to make at least one stop in the race, so long as it's dry tyres all the way through. As we see then, lap 3, DRS will be online, of course. And what drivers have to think about as well is that you only take 11 trips down the Kemmel Straight, and only 8 of those you have DRS. But there's not many opportunities to use that as your overtaking opportunity. So you've really got to think long and hard about when you make that overtake happen.
Exactly right. And again, these guys don't have any sort of race engineer or anything like that talking in their ear like the Pro Series guys do, because the Pro Series has evolved to a level where, yeah, they have race engineers and coaches and all that kind of stuff that are in their ear giving them tips and keeping them informed on the race. But these guys don't have that benefit. They have to do what they can with the information that they are provided, and they have to do it in the middle of a dogfight as well too, as we see a number of cars peel off, and that is going to break the DRS for Javi Vera, which could put him under threat come the end of the Kemmel Straight.
I mean, it puts him under threat, but he's just gone with the fastest lap of the race with a 44th flat. So he's clearly means business right about now. But yes, it does create that buffer for the top 3 as they now make their way through Eau Rouge and over Radion onto the Kemmel Straight. Vasta Racer still leads from Domi and Matthias. So Valentin Bruffer has done well from his pole position this time around. Leveche up to 2nd place. And of course, Matthias van Erven goes down to 3rd place. But we've seen this before. We've seen Matthias make his way back through the field. We saw him take the lead, of course, at Silverstone from Vasta Racer. This time around, he's lost a position at the start. But again, still a very, very long way to go, especially around Spa. There's plenty of opportunities all the way through.
Just having a look at the weather, it does look like it's going to stay overcast, but it looks like it's also going to stay dry. Is what we're seeing at the moment. I just got the weather report. So yeah, it looks like it looks like it's going to be dry. We'll see how things pan out, but at the moment, that's how things are shaping up. Again, a large gap has indeed formed between 3rd and 4th. Javi Vera was able to hold on to that 4th place position with Nardi Perez just behind him in 5th. So they're still hanging on, but I expect potentially they might be coming into the pits this lap. The top 4 still running on the soft compound.
Absolutely. So we head on to, well, almost the 5th lap of this race then, and it is still Valentin Bruffer who leads the way from Leveche and then Van Erven. But there you can see Vasta Racer and Domi coming into the pits. Matthias then stays out, and that has to be something that's maybe slightly out of his control. He's got to stay out because otherwise he'll be held up in the pit lane by Vasta Racer. So he's got to take one extra tour around this circuit, which will not be ideal for him at all.
Yeah, ideally, he would have been holding back a little bit on those tires and just saving wherever he could, knowing, of course, that the Ferrari ahead of him would be pitting at the ideal time and that he's going to have to stay out one lap later. So again, in an ideal world, an ideal situation, he would have been aware of that, and he would have been driving accordingly just to save those tires ever so slightly if he possibly could. So he is still, he's the only guy out there that's still running on the soft compound tires from the start of the race, which means certainly he's going to be coming back into the pits. Look at the way that he attacks turn 10, nearly going into the grass as he uses every bit of entrance car. Oh my goodness, what is going on here?
Well, we've got Domi, who's held on to second place. Yemelo then in third place, and Hajar trying to make his way through the field. I think we were 3 wide at one point down the Kemmel straight there. Difficult to decipher that one, but Leveche is in second place, Yemelo third, and Hajar is in fourth. That's what I've been able to decipher so far. Vasta Racer has rejoined in fifth place, so he's rejoined a bit behind Domi, actually. 2 cars lengths worth at least behind Domi, so it's not worked for Vasta Racer at all. Is that a sign for things to come for Matthias? Well, he's actually built up the gap by around 1.5 seconds on this in lap for Matthias alone. So where Domi's had to battle, where he's had to be wary of Dario and Zach, that might favour Matthias going into this. It's a short pit lane, relatively short pit lane here at Spa.
And of course, he's going to have less traffic in the pits themselves as well. So yeah, there's a couple of benefits as the Ferrari does become the last person to come into the pit. So Matthias in there now getting serviced by the team, and he's going to be coming out on a set of medium compound tires, and we'll have to see where he comes out relative to Domi, Dario, Zach, all of that kind of stuff. Oh, that's a big old hold that he was getting there, though. I'm not sure what that's about, but Matthias is possibly going to be in some trouble there as they make their way down the start-finish straight down towards turn 1. Matthias still in the pit lane. He does have a shorter distance through turn 1, and he does indeed come out ahead. He's not going to be carrying quite as much speed as the cars behind him, but he's got, I think, the gap that he needs to hold on at least through Radion and Eau Rouge, potentially into Lake Home as well.
Overcut accomplished. That's what Van Erven will be thinking, and he takes the lead here at Spa-Francorchamps. Leveche, though, is right in his wing mirrors right about now as we make our way on towards Lake Home. Yemelo still ahead of Hajar, and there it is then. Van Erven retakes the lead here at Spa-Francorchamps and now leads in Belgium. I mean, that was a good pit stop then from him. A great decision for him to stay out. I mean, he was kind of forced to make that decision himself, whereas his teammate Vasta Racer came in. But look, Vasta Racer rejoined in 5th place. Matthias rejoins in the lead.
I think he did prepare himself. I was speaking earlier about an ideal scenario, and I think he made that work for him. Just having a look at Timon, who was making an overtake here on Gil as they go side by side through the left-hander. Inside line for the Mercedes makes things relatively easy. Then he should stay to the right-hand side to get the inside line for the bus stop chicane, but actually doesn't end up going side by side. A nice clean overtake through Blanchimont as well, which is an exciting place to make that happen. So Timon gaining a position in this race, still outside of the points as it stands right now. But again, he is on soft compound. He is on the soft compound of tire now. Or no, yeah, he has switched to the soft compound of tire. So we'll see what he can do. He's just outside the points. I think a race win probably off the cards, especially with how Matthias is driving. Because yeah, that's really incredible the way that he was able to do that overcut, take the lead. We'll see if he's going to be able to hold on to it. You know, when you get into this situation, it becomes a game of chess. Where you may want to be in second position as you come out of turn 1 on lap 11, but everybody is thinking about that already. That's not a trick or anything like that. Everybody is already thinking like that, so we'll see how it plays out.
Right, here comes Nardi then, who's on the back of Schumacher then. As we make our way down that Kemmel straight, you can see there Javi Vera tries to break the toe as much as possible, but Schumacher is making a lot of ground here. He's going to go around the outside in towards they come, but they come together. There's contact there, and that's Nardi into the wall then. And that's Bernardo Perez who gets himself into the wall, and he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He has retired from that session. I'm not really too surprised. Where was he supposed to go there? He was just the unlucky bystander in somebody else's incident.
A 1-2 punch just absolutely KO'd him, and as you said, through no fault of his own. It's really hard to see that, and you really feel for him as well in that moment. I mean, you would call that a rage quit, and he would be completely valid in doing it as well too. I feel for him, I really do, because yeah, that's got to be so frustrating. To be on this level, to be on this stage, and to have that happen to you, so frustrating. Again, though, he's got 4 more races to bounce back from this, so hopefully for him, his luck can turn around.
What that does mean then is Timon Shooter now goes up into 8th place. So now he's well inside the points. 1.8 seconds is his next
Is that smoke? Is that smoke on the Mercedes?
Well, I mean, he's on smoking hot 4 at the moment, so that might be why. But he's really trying to push as hard as he possibly can. Again, 1.8 is the gap right now from himself and Marcel Olstadt, who is currently in 7th place. And we have 4 laps to go, so nothing's impossible. He could definitely get that gap down. It is coming down gradually, bit by bit.
through Eau Rouge and Radion one more time. Petrik's kind of at the tail end of this group, and then he has a 1.5-second gap down to Schumacher in 7th position. In fact, Schumacher in a bit of no man's land with that 1.7-second gap down to Timon as well. So he is having a lonely race at this stage, but that's not necessarily such a bad thing. Side by side into Lake Combe for the 2 Alfa Romeos, actually. They come out with Prinens ahead of Simo, but that was very exciting. Ooh, just sending a lunge again up the inside into turn 10. Couldn't quite find his way alongside Prinens there, so Simo has to hang back for the meantime, but he's on the soft compound tires, Prinens on the medium tires. Prinens doing absolutely everything, and that's Klasani again, just to remind everybody. Prinens is Klasani from the previous round, so you will know him from previous races, but doing everything he can on those medium tires. But you have to imagine Simo's going to get by with so many laps remaining, so much racing still to do.
Yeah, and so many kilometres to cover as well. Simone Yamotti really wants that position. You can tell he wants that position as well. Looking to try and throw a move up the inside of Bruxelles. Is a clear intention that he wants that position as we now make our way on towards Blanchimont through that flying left-hander. Meanwhile, we rejoin here on board with Valentin Bruffer. The battle for 3rd place at this moment in time, but he's got eyes locked on to the Renault ahead of Isaac Hajar as we make our way on towards La Source. 3 laps to go here at Spa-Francorchamps. Matthias leads the way. In here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit is Dobby in 2nd, Dario 3rd, Zach in 4th, Vasta Racer rounding on this top 5, and who you can see behind is Petrux there in P6. So this is all really a battle for the lead. They're all within DRS range of each other, although Dario is at risk of falling behind of Leveche, who's currently holding 2nd place. Isaac Hajar, though, is closing in on Yemelo as we make our way towards Lake Combe. Meanwhile, the 2 Alfa Romeos are going to go side by side once again. Yamotti this time has got the DRS. Has he got this move this time? Yes, he has. Klasani tucks back into that slipstream, and now it's Yamotti who moves up into 9th place.
Yeah, let's see. Gil behind is on the medium tires, so he doesn't need to be too worried behind him. But Name Changer there in 12th position is on the soft compound, so could potentially be a threat to that final points-paying position that Klasani is holding on to currently.
Yes, you've got to be aware of that one as well, as Gil there in 11th place also wants some points on the board as well to get himself up the order. Lap 9 of this race then it is. Matthias Van Erven leads the race from Domenico Leveche, and it's Dario Yemelo in 3rd place, Isaac Hajar in 4th, with Valentin Bruffer down there in 5th place. And once again, pole position might not necessarily mean the win for Bruffer. It will be a very frustrating day for him. Both times he's been the quickest car in qualifying, and yet both times he's not been able to take advantage to try and get a race win. No penalties awarded by the in-game stewards, at least so far. So what you see right now is what you're getting. This could be how it finishes. There's no penalties to add on afterwards, at least that we're aware of.
Got some front wing damage on Klasani, aka Prinens. Again, it's a we're so sorry about the name change, but he lost access to his account, so he's Prinens today. But Klasani in 10th there definitely has some front wing damage, and that's going to be hurting him. And yeah, even though Gil has the medium compound tires, you can see flying right up to the back of Klasani, and unfortunately for him on the penultimate lap, I think he is going to be dropping outside of the points-paying position. But we do rejoin the battle for the top 6, essentially, the battle for the lead. Petrik's bringing up the rear again. Ooh, big lockup into Lake Combe for the Red Bull driver, but this is where the real action is at. Schumacher continuing to drop back. That's now a 2-second gap, so I don't think he's going to be involving himself in this top 6 battle. But Timon, on the other hand, is closing up to the McLaren. I don't think there's enough laps left for Timon to involve himself in this battle in the top 6. Probably 7th is going to be the best he could do.
Well, at the moment, he's going to give it everything he possibly can as we're on to the penultimate lap here at Spa-Francorchamps. And at the moment, it is still Matthias Van Erven who leads the way. And having a look at the other results here, he hasn't yet got a race win to his name, has Matthias Van Erven. So he'll be looking to try and add that today here at Spa. Can he do it? Can he hold on for around about what will be about 11 kilometres left of this race, maybe even 10 kilometres by now as we make our way through Blanchimont for the 10th time in this race right about now. And you can see there, that's Petrus trying to close in. We've got to watch out, though, for Isaac Hajar, because Dario Yemelo he's really on that bubble of losing that DRS he has to Domenico Leveche. This could be Isaac Hajar's chance to grab a podium. We're on to the final lap of this race.
Exactly that. I think he could be in trouble potentially as we get to the most popular overtaking location very shortly here. It's going to be interesting to see, but I think Matthias has this. He's done all the hard work. He just needs to hang on for one more lap.
Yes, he's got around now 5.5 kilometers to go. Domenico Lavecce, though, is right on the back of Matthias Van Erven here. Van Erven hasn't had a race win in Challengers so far. Lavecce is looking to try and take that away from him. They battle now going through Les Combes, and Lavecce, has he got the move done? No, you can see Van Erven's got the inside line as they make their way through. Side by side they go. They give each other the room on the run now down towards Bruxelles. Van Erven's got the inside line. Lavecce has to go the long way round, and Van Erven holds on to the lead of the race. What a battle between the two of them for the lead.
Incredible stuff, incredible battling, incredible defending as well from Matthias. He has earned this win more than any other race I think we've seen all season long. Stupendous.
Absolutely, and he's really wanting this first race win for himself in Challengers, and hasn't even been on the podium for most of the series so far. And what a way to try and score one of your first podiums in Challengers. He's now pulling away from Lavecce then. This is great news for Van Erven as he now makes his way on towards that double left-hander for the final time. Lavecce won't have enough time to catch him as we make our way through Blanchemont for the final time. Matthias Van Erven has got one more chicane and one more acceleration point to go before he gets to the checkered flag. Van Erven going through the chicane and towards the checkered flag to pick up his first race win in Challengers. Van Erven wins the Belgian Grand Prix. Lavecce in second, Yemelo in third. We've got a spinner in the background and Isaac Ajar. He finishes across the line in 5th place, and that's going to promote that's Vasta Racer up into 4th place. But what a race then for one Ferrari driver at the very least. Matthias Van Erven takes his first race win of Challengers, and what a drive it was, what a race it was, and what a last lap he had.
I apologize to F1 2020, but no, you are wrong. Timon is not the driver of the day. It is CRG Matthias, because that was incredible. And I think Matthias, more than any other driver that we've seen in this 2021 season, has had incredible pace, but the results haven't, reflected that at all. I think more than any other driver, I think Matthias has not had that moment to shine, and he finally got that moment, and he grabbed it with both hands, and he put on a hell of a show for us as well too. That's the way to make a name for yourself. I imagine all of the representatives of the teams are sitting up right now.
Well, absolutely. Van Erven then takes his first race win of Challengers. Lavecce in second, Yemelo in 3rd place. To take you through the rest of the top of the order, I should say. Vasta Racer in 4th, Zach in 5th, Petrux in 6th, Schumacher 7th, Timon in 8th, Prinens in 9th, and Simo rounding off the top 10. We have just heard word from the stewards that a 3-second penalties have been applied for Schumacher for denying another vehicle adequate racing room. Now, that would have been the incident we saw at Les Combes in the closing stages of that race. If you take it to that position, that's going to drop him to 9th place. What that means for Timon, though, is he moves up into 7th place. So what was from the back of the grid to 8th place drive now becomes 7th place. I think I can see why the in-game fans voted him as driver of the day, though.
Klasani as well, aka Prinens. Thankfully, this is the last time we'll have to do that. Klasani as well, picking up some extra points as well as a result of that penalty for Schumacher. So yeah, that's oh man, I mean, I'm kind of exhausted from that, and you were the one doing the most of the talking, but just watching it, I was like this the whole time. I mean, just absolutely incredible. Really enjoyed that. I gotta say, Matthias and Domi, they both put on a heck of a show for us. I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. Wow, they deserve a round of applause for that one, because just highly entertaining racing.
Well, absolutely. And the thing was then, the overcut, that's where it opened up for Matthias Van Erven. He had to stay out a lap longer because his teammate, they're not actually teammates, but it's the way to get that one across, Valentin Bluffa, pitted in when he wanted to. So Matthias had to stay out an extra lap and made that overcut work absolutely perfectly. He rejoined in the lead without that traffic ahead of him. Fantastic stuff.
Really, I can't really see any faults whatsoever. I mean, he had a subpar strategy, wasn't on pole position, and had some of the most intense pressure that we've seen in quite the long time. Now, I will say the one benefit that he had for him was Timon starting so far back. Timon was kind of out of it, wasn't really involved. If Timon had been, in 4th or 5th or something, I think he would have been involved in that top 6 battle as well too. Possibly would have been making his presence known in that battle for the lead as well too. So he had that one small benefit. But again, I've been had this feeling all season long that we have yet to see the best from Matthias, and he has absolutely proved me right on this occasion. I think we even saw in the very first event that we had with Vietnam and China, we saw that big mistake that he made in China. I think people may have kind of discredited him, discounted him. They kind of put him to the side just because of that big mistake that he had in China, that he probably caught some flack for, but it was just an honest mistake, can happen to absolutely anybody. And to see him bounce back like this and to become the new race winner of the 2021 Challengers season it's fantastic to see. It very well deserved. Again, I think possibly better deserved than potentially any race winner we've had. I know that is quite the claim to make, but that was some of the craziest pressure that we saw from Domi. And I mean, hard but fair is really the term that comes to mind. I know it's an overused term in motorsport commentary, in sim racing, all of those things, but that really is what it was. I think Domi applied just enough pressure, and Matthias defended just aggressively enough to make it super exciting for all of us at home.
I mean, he had to work hard on that last lap to hold on to the lead. Leveche was going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at taking that race win. I mean, he had to be a man on a mission as well. With one of his championship rivals, Timon Shooter, all the way down the order, he knew 25 points would really have to be scored to take advantage of Timon having a rare off race.
Yeah, and he does move himself into contention for the top 6 in a big way. He was coming into this on 11 points. So that shows you just the kind of season that he had been having so far. So things are really starting to turn around. This is another driver, just like I was speaking about Duncan before. I think this is kind of the turnaround point for Matthias. It's almost like, all right, this is where my season starts.
And it's great to see. Oh, excuse me. It's great to see, isn't it? Finally, that he gets that turned around.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's been really, really tough for him. Again, he's not had very good luck, but you could see the pace. It was so evident just seeing the way that he attacked all of these courses and the qualifyings that he had and all that kind of stuff. You could see he had the pace. It was just, getting everything to come together in a perfect sort of situation, but he got that today.
Yeah, Spa has taken a toll on my voice. I do apologise about that, but we'll move swiftly on like nothing ever happened. Isaac Ajar, I mean, he had a decent day at the office, had a little bit of a moment at the end there, but still P5 and really up there with that battle for 3rd place towards the end there.
Yep, another driver. He actually came in just behind Matthias heading into this week. He was in 12th position with just 10 points, but quite a bit better result today, finishing in the top 5. Double-digit points for him. That alone pretty much doubles his points tally. And then where did he finish? He actually finished 5th as well. So he actually tripled his points tally this week at Spa and at Silverstone. So it's definitely been a good one for him. He goes from 10 points all the way up to 30, which isn't quite enough to be into the top 6, because of course Javi Vera was sitting in 6th place coming into this weekend, and he was sitting on 33 points. So he's definitely not in the top 6, but he's definitely going to be in that fight now. And again, with 4 races still to go, he's not out of it just yet. And I may have commentator cursed, so to speak, Timon a little bit. I was saying, he was getting pretty close to that point where he's essentially locked into the top 6, because he was starting to pull away with that 2nd race win that he picked up at Silverstone. But after finishing a little bit further down here at Spa, that's looking a little bit less likely, of course.
I mean, you and commentators' curses go hand in hand at this point, Justin. You have to stop at some point. At some point. At some point. Yamano, though, grabbed a podium there. Again, a hard-fought podium for him. He was starting to fall outside of the DRS range between the top 2. Had to fight really hard to hold on to that podium placing.
Yeah, he really did. He really did. It was a tough fight for everybody up at the front, really. Everybody in that sort of top 6 was, I mean, it was almost like a non-stop battle that they were having to deal with throughout the entirety of that race. So they were pretty much on edge for the entirety of the time. You really could not relax if you were in that top 6. And again, I know it's only 11 laps, but it's the longest lap of in terms of distance of the calendar. So it takes a lot of time to go through those 11 laps, and I imagine they're going to be feeling pretty sweaty after those 11 laps. Anybody in the top 6, probably you wouldn't want to give a hug right now.
No, I don't think so. I think that's some good advice from you, Justin, there. What about as well, I mean, we've seen Timon Shooter, obviously the race winner at Silverstone, had to start from the back of the grid after invalidating that lap time somewhere around X corner in one-shot qualifying, battled all the way back to 7th place. If that's not a marker to set for teams watching you, I don't know what is.
Yeah. I mean, the way that he fought back was, I mean, that's a kind of champion's drive to get back into the points. It's not easy to do that. It would have been pretty much impossible to try and win from that position, from 16th on the grid. To try and win would have been impossible at this level of competition without some kind of rain or some sort of chaos, a safety car, something. It would take something like that in order to make that happen. But again, Timon, I think, has, if nothing else, really solidified himself as kind of the one to beat. As I touched on earlier, I don't think he's unbeatable. I definitely don't think that. I think he still can be overhauled. But he's just really put himself in as kind of like the one to beat. Again, you win 2 races in a series where nobody has won 2 races, and that's going to kind of like put a target on your back.
Well, absolutely. All the drivers will be focusing really how to improve to beat you. It's the way it goes. For these drivers next then, at least on PlayStation, they've got the next tracks to focus on, which is Monza and Suzuka. Again, 2 really classic tracks, and 2 tracks which offer one thing: a lot of speed.
Yeah. And they're very different, though, in terms of the amount of downforce that you want and that sort of stuff. And just the layout of the circuits. They do have a lot of differences between the 2 of them. But I'm really looking forward to that. Monza, always exciting. Some of the most exciting F1 esports races that I've ever commentated on have happened at Monza, and similarly at Suzuka as well too, actually. A couple of races come to mind at Suzuka and at Monza as well. So that's a really interesting one. That's 2 sort of heavy hitters. It's actually kind of similar to the races that we had this week, or have this week, because of course we still have Xbox and PC as well. But yeah, Silverstone and Spa, it's like, 2 household names, so to speak. Probably not actually, but so to speak. And again, Suzuka and Monza, again, sort of household names. These are very, very well-known, very famous circuits, and again, circuits that are near and dear to the drivers' hearts. So they're going to be especially keen to put on a good showing.
They will indeed, and as you were rightly saying before, it's 2 different circuits that offer that same thrill of speed going through, but the totally different car setups in order to take advantage of that. I mean, when we get to Monza, there's quite a few DRS zones out there. It's very much focused on the top speed going through, with a couple of low speed corners, and then really you've got the Lesmos, and then going in towards the Ascari chicane where you really have to worry about the downforce. But the drivers will be trying to run as little downforce as they can get away with, surely, to maximize how much top speed they can get.
Yeah, they really will. I'd be very interested to see if there's any rain. We saw a wet F1 Esports Challengers series race one time that involved a 0 stop. I think more so, Nathan Moore was one of those, if I remember correctly, because I think I brought it up on Twitter one time, and he actually confirmed that he was one of those 0 stoppers. That's one of those rare situations where if you get some rain at that circuit in particular, some interesting things can start to happen. Suzuka less so. That Suzuka's quite punishing on the tires with all the changes of the direction. The fact that it's a figure of 8 circuit as well means that you wear more evenly on the 2 sides, the left side, the right side, all that kind of stuff. But of course, it's a very, very punishing circuit on the tires. Again, the changes of direction, all of that kind of stuff. So, but very different challenges from what we saw today. So it'll be interesting to see who's on top in a month's time.
It will be indeed. And yeah, as you said, with Suzuka, figure of 8 circuit, lots of downforce to put on the cars as well. And when you think about it, Suzuka is a very challenging place to overtake. It's only got one DRS zone, that's down the start finish straight. And even then, that's one of the shortest DRS zones on the calendar. The fact that there's only one DRS zone really doesn't help the drivers and doesn't inspire them much confidence in overtaking. So qualifying at Suzuka is going to be crucial.
It really is, and turn 1 is so high speed in these modern F1 cars. You know, you just flick it in, and then you get on the brakes after. You know, it used to be flick in and brake before the apex. Now it's after the turn 1 apex when you're actually starting to slow down. So it's a completely different sort of animal and a whole new set of challenges to what the classic cars may have offered. You can get it done into the Casio triangle. But it's difficult. It's a tough one. It's a heavy braking zone, but of course you're coming out of 130R, and then it's not that long of a run down towards that Casio triangle from 130R. So again, I'm very, very interested to see. But 2 tracks that I'm a huge fan of, especially from a spectating point of view.
Yes, and looking forward to challenging those next month. But of course, we are here live again tomorrow for the Xbox Challengers side of things. So we'll be here once again at Silverstone and Spa. So if you love that, you're going to love the next 2 days. I've got some great news for you. Xbox tomorrow and PC on Thursday. So don't miss those either. I do believe we have the confirmed results from both of the races tonight. So we'll start first, of course, with the race that happened first at Silverstone. Let's see how the order lines up then for the British Grand Prix. Your official results then: Timon Shooter taking his 2nd race win of the season here in Esports Challengers. Duncan Hofland in 2nd place. Domenico Lavecce in 3rd. Matthias van Erven in 4th. Isaac Hajar in 5th place. Javier Perez in 6th with Gianpietro Oggiano in 7th. Dario Yemolo in 8th. Guillaume Darunia in 9th. And Nicholas Klasani rounding off the top 10. To take you through the rest of the order then, to finalise that 16 finishes, it's Valentin Bruffa 11th. Diego Rossi, Ville Hammerleinen and Marcel Olstadt were drivers who finished the race. Yamotti and Perez did not finish the race and did not make it to the checkered flag. Moving on then to the 6th round here of Challengers on the PS4, the race we've just had, Spa-Francorchamps. There you can see Matthias van Erven grabbing his first race win of the series. His previous best was the previous round we just went to in Silverstone, finishing in 4th. Domenico Lavecce in 2nd place, Yemolo in 3rd with Bruffa in 4th. It's Hajar who grabbed 5th place, Oggiano in 6th, Timon Shooter in 7th, Klasani in 8th, Oldstad finishing in 9th and Yamotti rounding off the top 10. To take you through the rest of the order and to round off that 16 places, Darunia in 11th place, Hammerleinen in 12th, Rossi 13th, Hofland 14th, Perez in 15th, and Perez did not finish that race. Of course, we saw him off at Les Combes and retired on his own accord. And I have to say, if you found PS4 to be a lot of fun, I've got great news for you. We're back here tomorrow for the Xbox side of things, so hopefully you can join us for that one. But Justin, just a final word from you. How good were those 2 races?
Incredible. I got to give a shout out to Domi as well too. Back-to-back podiums as well. He's now on 5 podiums in 6 races. What a guy.
Absolutely. And that does it here for the PS4 side of things. Make sure to... Oh, sorry, we've got the standings. Yes, how could I forget the standings? My goodness me, I'm terrible at this. But yes, let's take you to the standings after 6 rounds, because that's
see what the 5 podiums do for Domi here.
Absolutely. And there you go. Timon Shooter then still at the top of the table. Domenico Lavecce has slashed that gap down now to 4 points. But then you can see there's a bit of a gap forming. Valentin Bruffa in 3rd place with Matthias van Erven in 4th. Tied with him is Duncan Hofland. Obviously, positions separate those two. Marcel Olstadt rounding off the top 6. Yemolo has closed up even closer to that top 6 places, as well as Javier Perez and Nicholas Klasani. They're within 1 point of that fabled top 6 that they need to get to. Darunia rounding off the top 10 so far after 6 rounds. To round off the rest of the table then, Hajar with 30 points, Perez with 20, Oggiano with 14 points, Rossi with 4 points, Hammerleinen with 2, and Yamotti with 1 point. But all the drivers now are off the mark after the 6 rounds and after 3 events. So, I mean, that tells you something. 4 points separates the top 2. And in 3rd place, well, it's anybody's guess at this rate. We've still got 4 rounds to go for PS4. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how it all pans out.
Yep, I am thrilled for tomorrow. I'm thrilled for the rest of this season. Yeah, definitely don't want to miss it.
No, absolutely not. And hopefully you will join us now for Xbox tomorrow night. We're live again from 7 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, so hopefully you can join myself and Justin for that one. Thank you very much for watching along. We hope you've enjoyed the action. We hope we will see you tomorrow for some more great racing at 2 historic circuits. From myself, Kieran McGinley, and from Justin Sutton alongside, it's been a pleasure bringing you these races, and we will see you again tomorrow. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you again very soon. Good night.